We are back. Shout out to Naveed's mother.
Yo, it's working, right?
It is working. Fucking technical issues. 24.
Okay, there's technical difficulties and then there's like the technical difficultiest. Like what? Look, like Riverside's great, which is the application that we use, by the way. It's great, but I don't want to talk to an AI agent all the time, you know? Like, oh, we'll escalate your ticket.
Bro, how does a man not own his own personal computer? That is my question.
But you just broke it down. Don't got much personal stuff going on. I think a phone suffices my needs. I'm very different. I'm weird, but we're here.
We are here. Thanks to Naveed's mom. We are back. We are here. We're a bit late to this. Before we get into anything, just gut check. How many hours a week do you think the best athletes in the world train?
Are we talking like elite level?
Say, for example, Olympians.
If I had to put a number to it, you know what? This is perfect from what we did literally last week. You put together a whole AI plan for me to do a marathon, and that shit's pretty extensive. So based on that and me not being even close to elite, let's say maybe like 20 hours a week, already feels like a lot, but that's kind of my guess.
So the actual number for elite athletes, 700 to 900 hours a year, which is about like 17 hours a week, every week for years. And we're talking about like the peak of the peak athletes.
God damn. That's, yeah. Okay. So my AI plan on beginner marathon doesn't even come close to that.
No, it's not. Crazy. That shit has you running like 30 minutes a day, bro. And what is that? Like 2 hours of training?
That's
like,
crazy.
For example, Simone Biles, I think is how you pronounce it. Yeah. She trains 32 hours a week with 1 day off. Michael Phelps swam every single day for years, like 365 days a year. He didn't skip his birthdays, Christmas, nothing. And he would train every single day, other than like when he's recovering and stuff. And yeah, the average Olympian, you know how they say like 10,000 hours? The average Olympian has accumulated 10,000 hours over 4 years, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Okay, so you actually did the math behind it. That's crazy. That's it's almost like a job in itself. I mean, like a second job if you think about it. But I guess that does make sense in theory. Like it's the top of the top in terms of the crop. Like it's just crazy. Like 4 years of training for what, like 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah. 2 weeks. Some of these sports that we watch the Olympics, they last for maybe like a minute. Think of it like track athletes, right? Especially like, let's say, the 400 meters or like 100 meter runners. You're running for like practically just like a few seconds.
Yeah.
And for that, you're training years. That is to say, like if you want to like reach a certain pinnacle, certain level of performance, again, going back to the theme of our podcast this season, which is all about performance, showing up when it matters. I think Olympic athletes, man, that they are the epitome of what it means to perform, show up when it matters. They're doing everything, right? Representing your country, representing your family.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes representing a different country, which causes controversies. We'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, I know the Winter Olympics, it's been a few weeks since it ended, so it gave us more time to digest. But I just think like just looking at that, I think growing up, I didn't appreciate the Olympics as much as I do now. I think maybe it's because like I'm more aware of the limitations of my own athleticism at this point.
Big fact. You in your early 20s, you think like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I could do it. And then you see all these guys. And I think that was one of the themes of the Olympics as well this time around, you know, compared to, I guess, like 08 and 12. Saw a lot of athletes that they're in the prime of their career or even at the latter end of their career and they're still performing. Like it was a more theme of sustainability as opposed to like short peaks.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is like in order to get to that level, like, you're training all your life for that moment. And I think it's just like, I don't even think we can even fathom the amount of sacrifice that goes into it, the amount of dedication that goes into it. Like you have people who basically just like last episode, we talked about how not having a safety net and having to pour everything into a certain thing, how it makes you perform at an even higher level. And that's what these guys are doing. And these guys are just like training over and over again, these little movements to make sure every muscle, every fiber in their body is angled in the right way, firing at the right moment. And I think like that amount of training and practice on every single movement of yours, on every single part, like, I'm pretty sure they even train how their fingers move. Like think about figure skaters, that's probably what they do because like you want all your body to look a certain way. So you got to control every single muscle. And I'm just like, you train that much for it to just be automatic. Like when you get to that moment, it's just automatic at that point. Your body's just firing on all cylinders and you're not even thinking about it.
So I'm going to go back to those numbers that you just established it. And I think the question I have at least is like, you got what, 700 hours? What's 700 hours doing for you that 300, for example, that can't? Is it just like repetition at that point?
I think it is that whole concept of your brain doesn't even think anymore. It's like your body's doing the movements because it's just done it so many times over and over and over again that you don't even have to think about it. Let's take Eileen Gu, for example. Have you seen the shit she does on
I've not
freestyle
going to lie.
skiing?
I've heard of the name, but tell me a bit about the story.
You definitely heard way more than just the name.
Yes, I have. I've
Like,
heard
we've been
probably
talking about her for weeks.
tell me the sports related part to her.
So basically, 22 years old, she competes in 3 separate freestyle skiing disciplines at the same Olympics: slopestyle, big air, and half pipe. So, like, she didn't compete in big air in 4 years since Beijing 2022. And then she shows up in Milan, like, which was this last Olympics,
Yeah.
and wins silver. And then on the final day of the games, wins half pipe gold. She ends 6 for 6 in Olympic medal events across 2 Olympics, while modeling, while studying at Stanford, while doing brand deals worth tens of millions a year.
Damn. Okay, you know that part you went for 6 for 6? I was like, okay, what? Michael Jordan, right? And you said everything after that. You're like, yo, she modeled, studying at Stanford. What? All of that? So 4 years without competing in an event and she still has medals.
Yeah, there's a whole other story to it where we're gonna get into it, but initially she only won 2 silvers,
Yeah.
and then a lot of people were like kind of questioning her, right? They're like, "Oh, hey, do you look at winning silver as failure or failure to win gold, or do you see it as a as success of winning silver?" And there's a clip of her that went completely viral, like because she was basically laughing at that question, like, "Yo, you're a fucking reporter. Who are you? Like, you've never competed in an Olympics in your life. Why are you questioning whether winning silver is an accomplishment, right?" And then she was having a lot of other controversy going on about her competing for China instead of the US. So I don't know if you know this story, but she grew up in San Francisco. Like she's basically like like, I guess, Bay Area girl. But her mom is Chinese. And she, for the Olympics, decided to compete for China. And so now when you understand the geopolitics of that whole situation where US and China are kind of rivals,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now you have an American, she's a dual citizen, I believe. So you have an American woman who is competing for China, winning gold medals for them or medals for them. So, obviously, like the MAGA
You think the
side was
flag
hella
you
pissed.
think you think the flag kind of became the story over time?
And
Because I
probably, yeah.
remember
It,
yeah, I
it was it was a
remember
big story for her, right? And
yeah,
so that's what I'm talking about. Like the pressure going into her last event. She hadn't won any gold up until that point. She won 2
yeah.
silvers and all that controversy is going on. And to then on her last event, where this is her last chance,
Mhm.
she actually pulls off gold. That takes a crazy amount of like performance, showing up under pressure, like that mental resilience, whatever you want to call it. Like
Yeah.
I was super inspired by it.
I mean, was it after or before she won the gold medal where like well, it was after, right? The press conference where I think like her grandmother had passed away and like she had to digest all of that in real time.
And that's the other thing. Yeah. Like after she won gold, she's sitting at the podium and you're thinking, hey, she's going to talk about all the pressure, like shutting up all the haters and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But no, apparently she reveals that she found out her grandma passed away right before she went on to compete. And I didn't even, like, you just reminded me, I didn't even think of that. Like that's a whole other layer to this, adding on to like everything else. And I looked into it after, like she used to be very close to her grandma. And so having someone close to you that passes away and still, whether you just channel that as like the energy that you need, but a
Exactly.
lot of people would get distracted, right? They would let that completely throw them off their game. But she channeled that sadness, grief, and won
Yeah.
it for her grandma. And that was so inspiring. Like she was talking about it on the podium after, and she was like crying or tearing up. And I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. You know, one thing about her that like really separated her from the crowd, at least from what, media had depicted, she completely debunked that like 10,000 hour theory that you just put out right now. Cause I understand the part of like, mastering your craft, but you need time to do that. And this girl, I think, you know how we have 24 hours? I think she has like a bit more than that every day. I don't know. Like she completely blew that out. Like, is she an anomaly?
I don't know if anomaly is the right word.
Yeah.
I think what probably happens with like people who've been training for this one thing, like I assume she's been training since she was like a little girl,
Yeah,
all her
but
life.
that 4-year gap. Like,
Yeah, but I think once you've trained your body from a very young age and you've done this repetition so many times, it's like riding a bicycle. Like a 4-year gap doesn't mean anything because your body has already built up all the muscle memory that it will ever need to do the things that she was doing. And so she can, I think that's why she can afford to go on all these other side quests and still win gold.
yeah. No, I guess that
When
makes
there are
sense.
people, and I think that's the thing. Like we do see some people who just go one track. That's all I'm doing,
Mhm.
and there are other people who are successful in like multiple different things. And I don't know what's a better way to go about it. Like maybe she is like not the rule but the exception. But the fact that she's still able to do everything and still be like the 0.001% of athletes in the world,
That's freaking
it just
impressive.
goes to impressive, and it just goes to show you how much of her time and dedication probably went to it.
So what you're saying is volume matters, but like it's the foundation that matters even more at this point.
I think so, yeah. Like, when I have kids, I'm making sure that
Yeah.
they I'm putting them to one Olympic or another event or another. I don't know whatever it is. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, not even. Hopefully, they're a part of the Canadian Olympics basketball team. That's my dream. So
Wow.
yeah, play with Shay. SGA. Actually, SGA is probably gonna be coach at that point. No Wiggins, please. Wiggins event. Maybe Jamal. They're all gonna be old, but
Yeah.
I want them to be in the Canadian Olympics team. But either way, reach a pinnacle of athleticism in whatever sport you are in, and I'm gonna train them to do that from like when they're kids. Like the moment the kid is out comes out of the womb, I'm putting a ball in their hand or whatever it is, like a fucking a ski. I mean, in Canada, maybe winter sports is better. So just putting that shit in their hand.
Look at us manifesting our dreams to our kids like every other parent. But it does make you question like whether, as you said, like pertaining to the Olympics where obsession is actually the path or whether like it's something deeper, like building that foundation and then having the freedom to like step back and come back.
You talked about stepping back and coming back to your sport. Another athlete who went very viral and it's technically still viral. Like people are calling her like the cute Asian girlfriend who they were simping over as kids, right? Alisa Liu.
Yeah.
I think Liu. That's how you pronounce it. This
Your
girl,
guess is better than mine. Yeah.
this girl's been going viral. Like she did this dance. I think it's stateside from Zara Larson. I see that video everywhere. Just like the opening part of her performance, but she won gold, and I watched her gold medal performance, and she just looked like she was in such a trance. Like she looked like it was just her there, no one else around her, and she was just enjoying herself. Like she didn't care about what the judges were saying, what the audience was saying. If you looked at her perform, it almost seemed like she was just in a world of her own. And
Wow.
then there are pictures and stuff that came out from the performance afterwards where you could just see like she has her eyes closed and she's just like vibing. She doesn't care about nothing. And that performance won her gold. And the reason I'm saying that that's so impressive is Alisa Liu also retired at the age of 16. When
She
she was
retired at
16,
16?
she retired at 16. Was it 16? I'm pretty sure it was 16. Yep. She retired at 16.
Damn.
So this girl, she started skating at 5 years old. By 13, she's the youngest women's national champion in history, and she beat out like other adults. She wins it again at the age of 14. Sorry?
I guess that explains the retiring age of 16. I'm like, huh? What?
Yeah. I mean, all her life, this is all she's known. She goes to the 2020 Beijing Olympics at 16, and then a few months later, she retires at the age of 16.
Classic burnout story.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't injury or anything. It was just classic burnout. It was more something specific. What she said is skating had consumed her entire life in a way that didn't feel like her choice anymore. So she had no say in her music. And this is like early in her, like when she was first skating. She had no say in her music, no input on her programs, no control over how much she trained. She basically felt like a product inside a machine. And when she came back, her main thing was no one's gonna starve me or tell me what I can and cannot eat. And
Damn.
I'm gonna choose everything I do from now on. So
Shout
basically
out.
it's like
You don't hear that in sports a lot, especially from elite athletes. Like you never like hear, at least and historically, like that concept of like autonomy versus control, even you haven't heard it much. It's just them displayed in their profession, in their sport, and their level of excellence. They've never retracted and been like, I've never had things done my way.
Yeah, and I mean, in her case, it's like her dad wanted to just like build up this. I mean, I know we just talked about me putting my kid into handing him a ball, him or her a ball from a young age. But like, yeah, like if you think about it, like you're kind of taking away the child's childhood, right? But I think it's also like talking about parenting. Like, if her dad hadn't done those, would she be in the position she is today?
Exactly. Bang. Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing to think about. Like, yeah, she hated it, and that's the reason she retired. But then that's also the reason she was in that position. And I think that's probably how a lot of Asian parents think, like brown parents, Asian parents. That's probably what they're thinking. Like, no, you're just gonna drive your kid to the ground,
Yeah.
and all of it's gonna pay off. But I mean, paid off with her. So she just like threw her skates in the closet. She enrolled into UCLA. She even went to Nepal and trekked Everest Base Camp.
Wow.
She just did whatever the fuck she wanted. She went on road trips with her friends. She said like I was just really living it up, and I would say it was like my best life. That's like quote unquote. That's exactly what she
Oh,
said.
good for her, bro.
Yeah, and here's where it flips. About 18 months later, she goes skiing for the first time, just for fun,
Yeah.
and obviously, like she hasn't done this. She probably had like PTSD trauma from it, where she was like, "Yeah, I'm never gonna do this again." But then once she gets back on it, on a ski, not skating it, on a ski, she feels this adrenaline rush that she hadn't felt since she stopped skating. So once you get that feeling, that itch again, you're like, "Hey, all right." So she digs out the skates again, goes to the rink just to see what it feels like. She wasn't yet planning a comeback, and then she lands a triple jump like she never left. And we talked about how, yeah, in Eileen's case, 4 years she didn't compete, came back, bang. Her too. She retired at the age of 16, and a year and a half later, she tries it again, bang. All of it comes back. And so she realizes she doesn't just hate skating, she just hated what skating had become for her. And those are two
Wow.
completely different things.
You kind of see the parallels between both of their stories, and I think like one of the key things is that I think athletes today they demand that creative control, right? As opposed to like in historical times. I think they both had different routes, but they wanted to do it their way.
Exactly. And I think that is that teaches us some things in life where it's like driving yourself to a certain extent and pushing whoever, whether you're a coach or whether you're a parent, pushing them to achieve greatness. That's one thing, but it also has to feel for the person, for the kid. It also has to come intrinsically, like naturally. You can't force someone to do something because then, yeah, it just leads to burnout. They might achieve that level of excellence, but if they don't want to do it and it's not truly what they want, they are gonna get burned out. So in Alisa's case, when she came back, she called her coaches and said that I'm gonna come back, but on my terms. I'm gonna pick my own music. I'm gonna be involved in every creative process. And if I feel like I'm training too much, I'm gonna back down. If I need more, I'm gonna ramp up. As you said, total ownership, like controlling every facet of her life. And that's when our coaches were like, hey, we know she's not here to win a medal. She was here to skate and just to enjoy it. And so you could see all that when she was on the rink this time for this Olympics. Just watching her, you could actually just tell that she wasn't there to win. She didn't care about winning. But that is what led her to win because she was just so carefree. And guess what it led to? Double gold, individual and team event. First American woman to win individual Olympic gold in figure skating in 24 years.
Damn. Just think about that feeling for her. Getting out of the sport, knowing that she made that executive decision, then coming back and just killing it.
Exactly. And that's what it should tell you. Like sometimes it's not about that end thing that you want to achieve, right? Which in this case, in her case, would have been like a gold medal because it's not about the gold medal. The gold medal is a byproduct. What she actually won was a right to show up as herself. And that produced the gold medal. And to me, that's the thing that should mess with how you think about what you're chasing and why. Like for a lot of people, and funny enough, we actually had this
I
conversation
swear to God, we had this
yesterday.
discussion yesterday.
We had this conversation yesterday where we're talking about is money the most important marker of success? For the average folk, it's not. I think pursuit of excellence or pursuit of whatever makes you happy, that, in my opinion, is the ultimate marker of success. And I think most people also feel that way. Money's just a byproduct of that. Like if you are excellent at something, money's gonna come. If you're truly happy doing something, if money is important in that facet of it, money's gonna come. And I think that's the thing. We talked about money yesterday. In this case, it's gold medal. Same thing. If you like, I think Kobe also talked about it, right? For Kobe, he had a famous quote. It's like, I don't really actually care about winning or losing. What I really care about is the process.
The process.
Yeah, the process of getting there, the process of stopping someone I'm defending, the process of beating my defender. Those are the things that I enjoy. That's what Kobe said. And when you think to like the people who have achieved like the
A certain
pinnacles,
level.
a certain level, they all have said the same thing. Where because if you let this end thing motivate you, that motivation is not going to last a long time.
Oh, that's true.
But if you just enjoy the process, you're going to keep redoing the process over and over and over again.
Yeah, imagine LeBron James coming into the league and he'd be like, "Hey, I want to become the all-time points leader in NBA history." He wouldn't have
And he would
lasted.
just start chucking
Exactly. Like he might have been
like
Bam
Bam
Adebayo.
Adebayo.
But no, going back to your point, that's so true.
One sidebar. How does a man take what was it 40 fucking 4 free throws?
43 free throws.
Oh my god.
How does he do it? I blame it on the opposing team. They were triple teaming
Exactly.
him.
No one fouled out. How do you foul a man 43 times and no one fouls out?
Talk about tanking.
Secondly, how do you let him get 43 free throws? Why do you gotta
Yeah,
foul him, bro?
look, this might be a hot take, but I felt very weird about Bam getting 83 points, and I know we're getting sidetracked, and it's simply because Kobe had 81. When you think of scores, Will Chamberlain, like again, he has 100 because he played with like 8 NBA teams. Shout out Will, rest in peace.
He didn't deserve it. Like, you know what it
Yeah,
is?
that's a hard thing.
Someone needs to reclaim that record. I vote Steph. Steph, next time you're out there, Warriors are fucked. They're tanking either way. Just chuck and take like 53s in a game.
50, right? He might have a higher percentage. Than
Exactly.
But no, going back to your point, I think it's very true. And I'm not just agreeing with you, but like take a look at it. I think sustainability and excellence, it derives from you wanting to be there for a reason that is likely not associated with an end goal, like an end result. You know, most people that excel in a given field for a very long time have a greater purpose to be there than just one singular goal that they're chasing.
Exactly. And I think that's at the end of the day the most important thing. Are you fulfilling your purpose? And going back to the conversation of success, like as long as you're enjoying the process, as long as you're enjoying your purpose and working towards your purpose, and your purpose, I truly believe this, your purpose can't just be making money. Because then
That's what I wanted to ask you. When people say, yo, like, I want to be super rich, or like, like, yeah, whatever, they give an X dollar, like, yo, I want like 2 to 10 mil, whatever. That's what I want. That's my goal. And people have said that. What does that actually mean? Because if you say that, money is just a byproduct of something that you're doing, that's probably the case in their scenario as well. Like, can you just really chase after money?
I don't think that those people are lying. I think there is definitely a certain subset of people whose purpose is money, right? But I would probably put that at like 5% of the population. Because I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. I think for me, if all I was pursuing was money, I would be miserable. And like without any rhyme or reason behind it, without well, what are some other things when you're choosing a career, what are some other things that people think about? Like how much impact you're going to have, how much you can learn, what kind of people you're around, right?
Mhm.
So, like for me, I would take a lower paying job if it meant I could get those other three things even better than my current role. I would 100% do it. And I mean, that's one of the reasons. Like, I never like for me things like we went to business school together. I was never interested in finance for that specific reason because I'm like the concept of money and all that. It really doesn't motivate me to that level.
Yeah.
And but there are a lot of people who it does, and like they're investment bankers, right? Like all they're
Their
doing is
literal job is, yeah.
their little job is money in one way or another. But again, I don't think that's far from me the majority of people. That's a subset of people.
For the longest time, I used to think, like growing up, that my dad's primary motivator, like as a first generation immigrant to this country, was money. So I got older and older, and literally based on our conversation yesterday, I was like, "Damn, it wasn't about the money. It was just like survival."
Pretty much.
Yeah,
That was his
but
purpose.
money's just a
His purpose was
byproduct of
making
that.
money's a byproduct. His purpose was the survival of his family, his kids,
Yeah.
and in order to have them survive, he needed money to do that.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, we digress a bit too much.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. You're much more in tune with these Olympics that I've been in, but I've got much interested because of some of the stuff that you told me.
And because of Eileen Gu, I mean, the number of
But
memes you
that's
sent.
all you. But what I was trying to get at is like, like the ecosystem that you have around you. Alyssa, she
Alyssa
had
Liu.
quite the story. Like she had layers to her story. Like you just talked about the part with her and the sport. There's the whole last part with her and her dad.
Oh, yeah. It's not even her story that's crazy. Her dad's
It's the
story
dad,
is even crazier.
Arthur freaking Liu, right?
Arthur Liu, born in a small mountain village in Sichuan, China. By the way, if you haven't had Sichuan food, one of my favorite cuisines in the world. So he went to the University of Guangzhou. In 1899, he's a student leader. He organizes demonstrations and hunger strikes in support of the Beijing students who are protesting the government. Hundreds of people during one of these protests, hundreds of people killed by the military, and Arthur Liu finds himself on a government most wanted list for China.
He had to flee?
Yep. He escapes on a smuggling boat, first
God.
heads into international waters, then towards Hong Kong. And he describes stepping off the boat and seeing the lights of the city and writing that he felt like he'd arrived in paradise on earth. Eventually, he makes it to California, puts himself through law school, starts his own practice, raises 5 kids as a single father. Also, his whole story of how he got these kids made. He got, apparently, I gotta verify
Made?
this. Yeah. Apparently, he had 5 separate children with 5 separate surrogate mothers who were all white. And he, so
Talk about using your bench effectively.
so there's this whole theory online too, where he just wanted maximum genetic diversity so that, the more genetically diverse you are, the more like healthy or whatever, like, don't be marrying your cousins and shit like that in certain parts of the world. But, the more genetic diversity there is, the more healthier, the more peak human you can become. So I guess he took that to the max. He had 5 kids. Yeah.
I thought at the beginning of the episode you was kind of pushing it. Oh, I want my, kids to be in XYZ. I'm like, yo, he's kind of pushing it. And then I hear this guy, he's optimized it.
Complete optimize. This man was doing like whatever health maxing way before that was even a concept. But here's where it gets even crazier. Before the 2022 Beijing Olympics, the Chinese government, through agents operating in the US, contacts Arthur, posing as a US Olympic official, and asks for
Obviously.
copies of his and Alyssa's passports. So, this man's been there. He's been through the streets. He kind of knows, his senses are tingling. So he refuses. The FBI later charges 5 men with working for the Chinese government to surveil and intimidate dissidents in the US. And Arthur was labeled as Dissident 3 in the criminal complaint. And Alyssa is listed as a family member. So the Chinese government was essentially spying on a 16-year-old figure skater because of who her father is.
So what happened then? Like, he said no, right? I assume.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the FBI caught all these guys who were undercover. You know what's funny? China was actually trying to recruit Alyssa to compete for them. The same thing they did with Eileen. They had a whole program. Sorry?
Oh, like legal. So they had a program.
Yeah, they had a whole program called the Naturalization Project, designed to bring foreign-born athletes of Chinese heritage back to compete under their flag, which is why you see Eileen Gu competed for China. For Arthur, because of the whole background and everything that happened, he was like, hey, given my background, it was impossible for me to allow my daughter to compete on their behalf.
You know what? That's a classic example of just one generation risking everything so the next generation can prosper.
Yeah, and the whole fucking Espionage movie, apparently. Like, can you imagine that Alisa Liu, like, when the movie gets made? Like, her retiring, to her coming back, to her doing things on
Winning
her
the
own
gold
terms.
medal.
And on the side, there's also this whole, like, espionage story that's going on, a storyline. Like, that's like
Yeah.
a bigger storyline than Durandar.
In terms of the press, was she asked about like this story, like, and her like relationship?
She had
with her father?
interviews somewhere. She had interviewed
Okay.
about it somewhere, but I don't think she talks about
Yeah.
it. She doesn't talk about it too much. And I think that's where it creates a contrast between
Her and Eileen, right?
Eileen. And
Yeah.
that's what now people are using as, like, if you go on Twitter, if you went on Twitter when the
Yeah.
Olympics were going on, it was all about Eileen, Alyssa. And that's why both of them, super accomplished, both of them half Chinese, half white. Both of them have like a parent who's of Chinese descent,
Mhm.
where one of their parents ran away from China and calls America a home and is proud to be American. while the
Yeah.
other one, born and raised in the US, got training in the US, education in the US, but is competing for China.
Damn. Yeah. So same Olympics, same heritage, just different flag, really.
Yeah, exactly. So in Eileen's case, she started competing for China in 2019. What she said her reason was that she wanted to inspire children in China at the Beijing Games in her mother's homeland. Like she's obviously very close to her mom. I feel like when you're a mixed kid, whichever parent raised you, obviously, like in this case, I don't know if Eileen's dad was ever in the picture, but it seems like her mom is the one who raised her. And so that's who she identifies with. So if your mom is Chinese, obviously that's the heritage you're going to identify with more.
But don't you think there's something deeper there? Like for someone, I'm just trying to think about this out loud. You grow up like in the States, you do everything in the States, but then, for example, comparing it to Alyssa's story, right? It's the complete opposite. Like she came from China to the United States, like with her family. And then Alyssa, she was born in the States. She did everything in the States, like got educated, trained and everything. But then she decided to go with China. So it's like there's sort of a disconnect there with roots.
I mean, that's why some people call it like a business decision, right? Like she probably got offered a shit ton of money.
Oh, from
I
that
read some,
naturalization project or whatever?
yeah, like 10 million or whatever. So some people say that hey, she sold to China,
10 mil?
10 mil, and hey, like a lot of people are talking about like China's human rights records or whatever that Eileen is not speaking up against those, and I'm like, brother, like, do you see the shit USA is doing right now? Like, is that any better? Like, I don't think anyone can call a which one's better or has a better human rights record or whatever.
I don't think you can expect that from athletes, to be honest with you. Like, this has been evident throughout the course of history. Politics and sports have always found a way to intersect, which is very unfortunate. We can even talk to like cricket about that, for example. That shouldn't be like an expectation you have out of an athlete. You know what I mean? Like their sole job is to do what they do. And that's what I think, at least.
It is. I mean, like a lot of athletes are citizens of a country too, right? Like athletes are citizens of a country too. Like it's like saying shut up and dribble. And like you remember when that caused a whole stir? Like when I think it was like a Fox News host who told Katie and LeBron to shut up and dribble because they were talking about politics a lot. And I think no, to a certain point, like athletes, when you have influence, not just athletes, when you have influence, you do want to talk about issues that you care about.
But should it be at their discretion?
Exactly, it should be at their discretion. I don't think it should ever be an expectation. That's what they need to do. And like I think it's fair to call out that hey, she doesn't talk about um these human rights elements. And but the thing is, people who are calling her out about it, it's people who never even cared about the Uyghurs or whatever human rights issues they're talking about, and now they're suddenly invoking human rights as ammunition in a culture war argument. Athletes switch national affiliations all the time. The US has benefited from this system a lot.
There you go.
Like
Yeah.
foreign athletes become American, like Joel Embiid in the last Olympics.
Yeah. No one,
Um,
no one called
the,
that part out, right?
no one called that part out, but why did he like US was happy to take an athlete of his caliber.
Yeah.
So the outrage is selective. A lot of it is really just she keeps beating American athletes and people don't like it. And the citizenship angle is just a main story to attach their frustration to.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I think the criticism part is fair, but anything over and above that, that's just you wanting to find a story that doesn't have much substance, really.
Exactly. She's just a 22-year-old biracial woman navigating two countries, expectations, building a global career. That obviously doesn't make the questions go away. It just makes it more complicated, but it has to be nuanced. You can't just say that she's a traitor or she is Alyssa's better because her dad fled from China and now she's fighting for like the free world or whatever. When you compare Alyssa Liu to Eileen Gu, like they have their own choices, you know, like they have the choices of who they want to compete for, what they want to do. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if they are their purpose is to compete for that country or for that people, then and they're happy doing that, then that's what they do. I think at the end of the day, like we should just enjoy the sport that's out there. And I know competition is a part of it, but leave the politics out of it.
I couldn't have said it better. I think that's the essence of the Olympics. It's to bring people together. So like why does all this like politicking in the middle really matter, right? But we talked a lot about like success stories, right? Like not that I want to like, poach on failure, but like that's evident part of any sport, right? Someone's gonna win and someone's gonna lose. So Jake Paul's girlfriend, like that's all I remember. I should be more informed, but she's a Dutch speed skater, right?
Yeah, Dutch speed skater.
So she had an interesting, not her career trajectory, but like the specific event that she was going through. So she has a lot of like not heat on her, but a lot of like emphasis and focus on her because of her association with Jake Paul. You know, most athletes are probably coming in like a freaking like, you know, regular commercial plane, whereas she's coming on like a chartered private jet kind of flight. And so she had a teammate, again, a speed skater. I forgot her name. What was it? Feme Coke, I think, something along the lines of that. So she broke the Olympic record in the same heat right before, what's Jake Paul's girlfriend's name?
Juta Lirdom.
Juta. So right before Juta was going to
Juta.
go, Yuta, yeah.
Yeah.
So right before she was going to go, her fellow Olympian from the same country set an Olympic record. So now this girl has like even more pressure to not only perform with like her name and association, but to just outdo her freaking teammate that just set the record before. And well, long story short, she made the Olympic record right after.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Paul knows how to pick him. That's that's for sure.
That's a pretty crazy story.
That is. Didn't she have something where she always like mentally prepares herself by telling herself something? I saw it somewhere. I don't know if you remember that.
I think I have it right in front of me, and I quote, she's like, you have 80 years to recover from this, so you don't want to live with that regret. And I guess she told herself that right before her fellow Olympian set that record, and then, well, she beat it. So it just goes back to like the whole mental game aspect of everything. There's obviously the repetition and all of that stuff, but there's this over and above theme of like being able to lock in at any given
Being able
point
to lock in when it matters. You can
when
still
it matters.
have a life outside of this one thing. Like, I think that's like a thing that we're noticing among all these Olympic gold medalists. As long as you have the foundation, you can pursue other things. You can do other things. You can be an interesting person. You can have other passions or no passion. You can just be someone like Alyssa Liu, who just fucks around for like 4 years and just like enjoys life, you know? And I think all of that is important. I think that's what makes for a great life, but also when you take a step back, I think when you come back recharged and you can focus and lock in even more than if you were doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
You think we're seeing like a new age of athletes now in any sport, really? Because there's so much like visibility and exposure and like things you could really do outside of just that one thing. Like they have more of an identity, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, each of these athletes are their own brand because of social media. And people are going viral on social media. All these athletes are going viral on social media. And I promise, we didn't just cover 3 women just because, like, you know, and shafting the mans. That's not what we're doing. It's just because these 3 athletes were the ones who went most viral on social media. And, like, each of them took a story of their own. And obviously the Eileen and Alyssa thing, there was like a whole political thing attached to it too. But hey, I mean, I go on Twitter and whoever came up on Twitter, that's what I was most exposed to. So these are the stories that I came across. But yeah, all these people, they go viral on social media, building their own brands. They have so much opportunity in front of them, and they're taking full advantage of it.
Just look at that trajectory, let's say, compared to like the 2008 Olympics when it was like solely focused on like the male athletes, right? At that time, Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt to now, arguably, as you said, like the top 2 athletes that were most prominent in these Winter Olympics are females.
Exactly, and actually, that's a good point too. Like before, and we didn't really care about the Olympics all that much as we do now. I think now the reason, let alone the Winter Olympics, even though we live in Canada, but I feel like now we do because social media has just amplified it so much, where there's a much greater appreciation for what these athletes are doing, everything they have to go through, and what it takes to get there.
And I think with these stories, it kind of like reflects on, like, again, that theme, like what relationship do we have with like pressure, like with our identity, failure, and then like, you know, some of these things of like our support system as well.
Exactly. So speaking of not showing up, so we're going back.
I know
we're going back into like a bit of a political segment again, but also, unfortunately, hockey was taken back from us.
We had that one thing, you know, like,
it's okay. We have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander now. You know, he's the reigning MVP, gonna win some more.
Yeah, but in OKC, like in Oklahoma, like I gotta go back 7 years just to feel good about something. I almost felt about it good last year, but then like the ball just got stuck between. Remember the Jays?
I got into baseball for like 2 weeks and 2 weeks only, and I felt a heartbreak. I can't even imagine you who like been watching baseball since. I don't think I heard from you for like a whole week after that.
Yeah, I genuinely got sick. Don't tell my employer that.
Not to digress again, like our favorite sport apparently hockey, but we lost to both our men's and women's team lost to the U.S. So I can just imagine Trump in his corner, just like
Yeah, yeah.
devising out plans on which country to bomb next, but at the same time watching, fucking laughing at, like enjoying hockey on the side.
As if he needed more troll material, you know?
Exactly. I don't even want to be Mark Kearney at that point.
Okay, so what happened? Okay, so US beat Canada in overtime, just total heartbreak. But what was the actual controversy?
So the actual controversy is after the U.S. team wins, they're in the locker room, obviously celebrating. Somehow, I don't know if you know who Kash Patel is. It's like this
Hotel owner? No, 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 I'm kidding.
he's like your prototypical short, brown dude who's like grown up with insecurities all his life, so he has to like act bigger than he is, right?
So what is he?
So he's the FBI director
Okay,
of the
come
U.S.
on.
United
Okay,
States of
how can you
America.
say all those traits and be like, yeah, what is he? FBI director?
Yep, FBI director. But he's like a whole like a MAGA Trump Trump stand, He was in the locker room celebrating with them, like this man. Like, it's like that one brown dude in like a frat house celebrating with all the frat boys, and the one brown dude just really trying hard to fit in. That was him, right? So if you just look at the videos, and he's popping champagne or whatever. So at one point he calls Mr. Trump, and the whole locker room is like talking to him. And no, we've heard recordings of Trump in the past about him being misogynistic, about him undermining women, grab him by the pussy, if you all remember that. So like obviously Trump also feels like he's part of the locker room boys, reliving his like 20s or whatever. And he's basically like, hey boys, great job. I can't even do the Trump accent. I'm not even gonna try. But it's like, hey, great job, boys, great job. You guys are the best ever. Like, the way he talks.
Yeah.
But he was basically like, hey, I'm gonna call you guys to the White House, and I'm gonna have to invite the women's team as well, eh? Like in like a very like dismissive way. It's like, I don't know, I can't believe I have to invite them, but like, I just have to do it as a courtesy. Right?
What?
He said it as a joke.
They caught that on recording.
They caught that on recording, and
Oh my.
all the hockey players they were laughing. Obviously, they're fucking drunk out of their mind after winning. And so that obviously was caught on camera, went all over social media that, hey, this man, leader of a free world, like the women also won a gold medal, but he's undermining them to make a locker room joke. And none of the other hockey players, like the boys' team hockey players, stood up for them because as athletes, there's always that mutual respect between like you and another athlete. But the fact that they didn't,
bare minimum, that's just sportsmanship, right?
exactly. And the fact that none of them stood up or said anything, that disappointed a lot of people. And that was basically the whole controversy. It's like, oh, people were like, I have zero respect for this men's hockey team, blah, blah, blah. And that goes to show you, like, you can show up in the competitive environments and on the ice, but as athletes, are you also expected to show up when you're not on the court, on the ice, on the field or whatever? Do you always have to be perfect in every single situation? I feel like when you have that kind of influence, it's kind of expected of you. But I don't know. I don't know if that's always fair or not because people make mistakes. I don't know what your thoughts are.
See, this is like one of those mistakes with a huge asterisk around it, right? It clearly got the visibility. It's a very sensitive topic, right? But I understand your point. Like, can we expect these athletes to be on and off the court? To some extent, it's unreasonable, right? Because at the end of the day, they're humans as well. But like, some of the stories that we've mentioned about some of these athletes and their past, and then them going through this insane journey to get to that point in time and then conquering and winning it all. I can understand how people would feel like the men's US hockey team just not threw it all away, but threw some of it away.
Yeah, through some of that respect away, through some of that.
Yeah. Which is really sad because like y'all just beat Canada after like 40, 60 years.
Yeah, but hey, Canadian men's team will take it back next time. No, I was gonna say, I sometimes think about like people who have achieved a certain level of fame that it's always expected of them to just be perfect. Like they can't make any mistakes. They always have to be like a stand-up person. But as humans, we're all humans at the end of the day. Like we're all gonna make mistakes. And I think actually the hockey team, some of them actually a few days later or the day after, or a few days later, they did come back and say that hey, we were in the we were just on a high from the wins and stuff. We didn't even realize the joke was disrespectful until after. And they did apologize after. So I'll commend the guys who like owned up to it after. And
I will say this, there's the part of acknowledging they are human, but like to what extent could you compare an average folk to someone that has that level of visibility? Like, is that part of their job description? I think, personal opinion, if you know you have visibility, that comes with then an added layer of responsibility, whether you choose it or whether you don't, in my opinion. The average folk can get away with it. Why? Because no one gives two fucks about what he or she says. They have no influence. Well, when you do, I think that level of responsibility is bestowed upon you, whether you like it or not. And I think some people roll with it, and some people obviously take it in a way where they want to make a point where they want to make whatever point they want to make.
there's no such thing as a silent influencer, right? Or sleeping influencer.
You say sleeping influencer?
I'm gonna tell a funny joke. So someone we know once told us that he's a sleeping investor in a company, and we're looking at him like sleeping. Like, what do you do? You just sleep?
I'd love, like, I've heard of passiveness, but this is like the next. I want to be that. I want to like just
Uh,
sleep and invest.
I would love to be a sleeping investor, but I mean, actually, he got the mechanism right. I mean, the whole point of passive investment is you sleep and you make money. But I think what he meant to say was a silent investor. So, no concept of a sleeping influencer here. You gotta you you're famous. You're famous. Anyways, yeah. All that is to say, really enjoyed the Olympics. I did not think I was going to be that into the Winter Olympics. I don't actually think I watched anything. It was I just kept up with the highlights and watched the highlight reels after.
I will make an argument and say that the Winter Olympics may have more aura than the Summer Olympics. And I'm not saying that because I'm Canadian. I have skied once in my life.
We got to change that. We
Yeah,
we were supposed to change it this winter. Why didn't we go? What the hell? It snowed so much. We could have skied so many times.
facts. Completely changed my perspective on the Winter Olympics. And most importantly, the athletes. Some of these stories, just incredible. Whatever way you look at it, whether it's their trajectory, what they did at the Olympics, what their backstory.
Yeah, and the amount of pressure that these guys have to go through
I'm
from
never forgetting that number, 700 hours a year.
yeah, like training for it, the whole world looking at you, your country's expectations on you. And not only that, you're dealing with all these controversies for like these stories that we covered. And to take in Eileen's case, death of her mother, and to take it all and still persevere and be at the pinnacle of your sport, that just takes a whole other level of mental toughness. They inspired me to keep working on my body, working on my mind, being gritty, keep persevering. And those are things that anyone can look up to.
Like with this whole episode, I think for me, it was really like, what would it look like to bring that same intentional mindset to whatever matters most to me?
All right. And on that, on three, we out.
Peace.